Cardboard, EVA foam, XPS foam. Which is the best thing for you to make a rock out of? Hi there and welcome to Good Enough Scenery. In today's video I'm going to be making roughly the same size rock out of some cardboard, some EVA foam and some XPS foam. I'm going to be comparing all sorts of different things about them and eventually providing you the evidence so that you can choose your construction material moving forwards. So we're going to start off with the cardboard here. So I'm going to be comparing these things based upon a number of different things. So price is going to be something, ease to work with is going to be something, overall look is going to be something, and the advantages and disadvantages of using this particular material for the thing that we're making. So the way that a rock is going to be made out of cardboard is by cutting out shapes from this cardboard here and stacking it up like this and covering it in a combination of toilet paper and glue. So to begin with, we need to know this shape we're going to make. I'm starting so something roughly that sized. So we'll cut this out and then we're going to make another one roughly the same size, and then they're going to get a little bit smaller as we go up and up and up and up. Instantly I feel like I'm making a pretend stocking for Christmas. So this is our biggest layer, and so we need to make one that's slightly smaller than that. Easiest way to do that is to take your cut out like this and draw. Actually, let's have this one be almost exactly the same size. Okay, and then going a little smaller again. So it's getting a little bit taller, but you know, we're a centimetre, and we've been at it for 9 minutes. Right, I'm going to cut some more shapes out and keep track of the time that it takes. I think something like that. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Right, so that has taken, I don't know, 20 minutes to cut that all out, maybe. Even not quite that long. 15. That's right, Jess, 15. Okay, with all our pieces cut out, it's just a case of gluing them together, which is going to be done with some PVA glue. So I'm going to go top down on this. And you don't have to be particularly neat with this because we're going to be adding loads of glue on the outside of it anyway. Now we can be a little bit more careful with how these are all positioned, but ultimately it doesn't matter too much. We can squidge it down and then we can cover it. First of all, we can cover it in glue. It's feeling pretty solid already. Now that the glue's on, this is literally toilet roll, and you can just essentially cover this. And this is going to blend all of the lines between each layer and also provide a little bit of texture to it. And you want to make sure the final layer is really smothered in glue. going to do a black base coat on this. So just going to get into all of the detail with a makeup brush in black. Okay, our cardboard rock is now dry, so I've just mixed up some grey paint and I'm going to go over this. I'm not going to try and get into all the detail. Don't mind about some black showing through. So you can think of this as being very wet, dry brush, a wet brush if you will. I should probably learn the terms for these sorts of things. But you can see that as I'm going over this, it's picking up some of the detail and it's not getting into others, and that makes it look more like a rock. So this is going to take a matter of seconds. Ends up looking pretty decent, better than you might think. There you have it. Right, to finish off this cardboard one, now I'm going to do a dry brush on it. So I'm going to load some white paint into the belly of the brush and kind of get the excess off, and then go perpendicular. And where we've got all of these wavy kind of ridges and stuff, the dry brushing will pick these up and leave the lower areas still black and grey. So next up we have EVA foam, which is this stuff here. Also known as playmat foam. It's quite bendy, kind of smooth on this side, and has a kind of, I don't know what that is. I guess it's supposed to be grippy texture on the other side. So this was the footprint of the cardboard hill, so we're going to start off with that. So that's like, I'm going to try and make them all roughly the same, so we can have a nice comparison. And obviously there's a lot thicker than cardboard, so what we can do is cut at an angle. Basically the construction method is going to be very, very similar. So it's going to have a stack of these, but they're going to be a bit different because this is a lot thicker. So a sharp knife gets you through it all right. And I might just have one more layer on top of that. I think something like that looks good. Before you glue it, you can add some more texture to this. So if you just take the knife and run it across the surface of it, and just kind of tear it up a bit, and that will make it a bit more believable as a rocky surface. By gluing it, it's nice and simple. Just cover it in glue and squash it down. There we have it, glued. So construction wise, done. So for painting, I've just mixed up some light grey paint, and on the flat surfaces I'm just going to paint it. So by not going too heavy on that, you don't go into all of the detail, so you get some darker areas there. Right, with the flat areas, what I'm going to do is kind of stipple them, so we'll create a bit of variety in colour. So looking like that. Now I'm going to do some dry brushing and added detail on the EVA foam one. And with these flatter sections, I'm going to load up the brush, get some mark off, and then I'm just going to stipple it like that. Just finished. And finally we have XPS foam. So this is the rough footprint of the cardboard one. That is not bad. Now you can cut this with a hot wire cutter, but I'm trying to make this accessible for a whole bunch of people. So in terms of the rough shape, create a bit of weakness, and then you can just snap through it even on the 50mm foam. That's probably about as much as we need for that. And from here, you can use a Stanley knife, craft knife, just to start making the shape that you want, which we know pretty well at this point. What I love about this stuff is that just as soon as you start cutting into it, it just starts forming all of these different random rocky looking things about it. So we do want to get rid of this texture on the top. So there's two things we're going to do in order to make that happen. So I'm going to score a couple of lines like this around it. It's going to go parallel. So I'm not going very deep, so a few mil in. That around to this side as well, and hey, why don't we do there as well? Right, then in order to make this look more rocky, first thing I'm going to do is going to get the side of the blade, and it's actually quite good if the blade is a bit blunt with this, and I'm just going to tear that down there like that. You'll see immediately that starts to look like something that could possibly maybe be rock. Next up, take a ball of tin foil or aluminium foil, roll this all over it. Starts to create a kind of rocky impression of it rather than it being. You can leave it at straight lines, rocks have straight lines and stuff. To be perfectly honest, you could just go. You could just call that finished. So I've got some grey paint left over from the last one. Right, so I'm just going to use up what I've got here just to go over and kind of create a uniform kind of base colour. And then to finish this one, all that I'll do is I'll be dry brushing in probably white. And there you go. Next time you see that will be dry, and we'll be dry brushing it. And this brush has got a bit of grey on it before, so it's then going to end up being a very light grey dry brush. And it's not strictly a dry brush because we're going to be keeping some paint on there, but essentially just going over this and hitting going with a perpendicular brush and catching the higher parts of it. That should be it finished.
So on to the comparison between them all. So let's start with the pros of the cardboard one. So it's the cheapest, it's the easiest to get hold of. I mean, I literally made this out of a box that something else got delivered in. It's easy to work with because you're just using a craft knife, and the finished rock here, with the weight of the cardboard, the glue, and the toilet paper, it's pretty heavy, so it's not a sort of bit of scenery you're going to knock around, which is good. What about the cons? Well, this took 36 minutes to make one rock, plus the drying time for the black paint, the grey paint, and the glue as well. So, if you're making a whole batch of them, then that kind of average time is going to go down, but it takes a long time to make. With doing the kind of the papier-mâché thing, it's the messiest to work with, if that's an issue for you. And I did a poll of the 3 rocks, and this one came out lowest, but that's kind of very much a subjective thing. And just with the construction and with the papier-mâché thing, there is a limited amount of variety that you can have. So that is the cardboard rock pros and cons. On to the EVA foam rock. Well, first off, it was voted #1 in the best looking category, so again, that's very much subjective. The construction couldn't be more simple, with it just being some pieces stuck on top of each other. The simplest version you could make in 5 minutes, so if you didn't want to worry about stippling it with certain colour paint and then dry brushing it, you could make a rock in 5 minutes. It's the least messy, and this stuff, this playmat foam, this EVA foam, is available everywhere, I think. The cons, ideally you do need a glue gun. There's a limited amount of variations. You can't really do overhangs with this because one side of the foam is this kind of grippy thing that doesn't look like rock whatsoever, and you can't create kind of taller shapes because of the nature of it being just a piece of foam. And it can curl over time, which isn't ideal, and per rock it's fractionally the most expensive. But now on to the XPS foam rock. It was fractionally behind in second place in terms of looks. I think the EVA foam rock got 50%, this one got 42% of the vote. There's no gluing required. As you've seen, you just literally take a chunk of it and carve it up. It's the quickest to make, not very much, but it's still very quick. It allows you to add the most detail with all of the different angles you can cut things at, and the kind of making texture into the surface. So there's the most variations, there's no kind of restrictions on overhangs and things like that. And in terms of making it kind of flat like the EVA one, or making it more curved like the cardboard one, there's limitless variations in terms of that as well. In terms of the cons, ideally you do need a hot wire cutter. It'll be so much quicker with a hot wire cutter. You can make it in couple of minutes. This stuff can be hard to get in some countries. I think the hotter the country is, the harder it is to get a hold of this stuff. That's the kind of how it seems to be, because it is typically insulation foam. It's very light, so it can be a bit of scenery, it can be knocked around. As you saw when I was kind of carving up the surface to add in this detail, it can be messy, but it's not too bad. It's not as bad as using glue or anything. But the main con, I'd say, is this stuff has to be bought in large sheets, so kind of typically a 2 foot by 4 foot sheet. Now I make modular boards. If you know this channel, you know that I use a lot of this stuff, so I'm making this out of offcuts. So for me, this rock basically cost me nothing. If you're buying sheets of this to make your own rocks, it's going to be much more expensive per rock. So hopefully this video has shown you 3 great tutorials on how to make rocks and the pros and cons of each different construction material, so that leaves you in a position where you're able to make your own decision about what you are going to make your own rocks out of. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming up. If you'd like to see more videos about what construction materials you should use for different things, if you'd like me to compare the same materials for something entirely different, then leave me your comments. Let me know the sort of thing you'd like to see me do. Thanks for watching Good Enough Scenery, and I'll be back with another video soon.